WWE traditional pay-per-view ended, everybody. Daniel Bryan being pinned by Randy Orton. And the shot at the end of the show of various fans in states of boredom, annoyance. It was actually a really good pay-per-view. For a final ever WWE pay-per-view, it was pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Not bad. And
it was just the ending of the show.
But you knew what the ending was. Everybody knew what was going to happen on this show.
Sure.
You should have, all of you. You didn't think Randy Orton was going to retain
the title? I thought Randy Orton was going to win, but it was something we expected, but still, it's something we have seen many, many times over the past 6 months.
Sometimes it's okay to be surprised.
Yes. And the shots of the fans at the end, obviously they wanted to build sympathy for Daniel Bryan, and obviously they wanted to put heat on Randy Orton. But these fans just looked so bored. Amazingly bored. All of them. They weren't. This is not Ms. Girl. These fans were in a trance. Not in a good way. They were zoned out. They had checked out.
Yeah, I've gotten a lot of I got a lot of live reports here on the Twitter machine. If you want to contact us via Twitter at Brian Alvarez, we are live, so I'll be looking at these throughout the evening. And the hashtag is F4W Live. And this person here, Eric's there live. Everybody went quiet, he said, when Orton pinned Bryan at the end. I've got a fella here who says that as soon as Orton got the pin, a fan just threw his popcorn over the barricade. He is being escorted out right now. We had a lot of very unique chants on the show.
Maybe it was Michael Cole.
Yeah.
No.
How about that? Well, I suppose we should get into it because we got a lot to talk about.
Sure.
This is our immediate post show. Me and Dave will be up later on tonight about 3 a.m. Eastern with the Wrestling Observer Radio post show. And don't forget, the WWE Network is kicking off tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. Eastern, which is 6 a.m. Pacific. I know Craig's not going to sleep tonight.
Right.
He's so excited to get the network. And Vinny, I'm sure will just do what he always does. There was a lot of interesting stuff on the show, I will say that. Go ahead, Vinny. Let's kick this thing off.
Jack Swagger versus Big E for the Intercontinental title. Zeb cut a promo saying things have gotten worse since Big E had been Intercontinental Champion.
Actually, I got to cut you off already.
That didn't take long.
The pre-show match. I put up a new TV in here because the WWE Network is coming.
Very distracting.
Great.
So I actually could watch I watched the pre-show. I talked about this on Observer Live. If you didn't hear it, everybody's asking about Apple TV. Can we get the network on Apple TV? I presume that tomorrow morning there's going to be a WWE Network little logo on Apple TV, but it's not there yet. However, I can tell you that at 4:30 today, I went under the WWE app on my iPhone, and I airplayed the pre-show to my television.
There you go.
And it was HD. It looked great. So if all else fails, everybody, that's what you do. If you've got an Apple TV, you can watch the network on the WWE app, I presume tomorrow. I think that's what they explain. And so you can just airplay everything to your Apple TV. But I expect that there's going to be the little Delia Bob on there. But anyway, it was Ryback against Goldust and Cody. That was the pre-show match. And you'll never guess who came out with Ryback and Curtis Axel.
If I guess, will you give me $20?
No.
It was Larry Hennig.
Larry the Axe Hennig came down to the ring.
That is awesome.
Actually looked like the toughest guy at ringside. And so you'll never guess the finish.
Axel got pinned?
Cody pinned Axel right in front of his father. Grandfather. I screwed that up earlier today, too.
Jobber.
But yeah, that was the finish. So it was a pre-show match. Wasn't much to it. I was mostly amazed that I was sitting there watching commercials during the middle of a pre-show match on the WWE app. But yeah, they had commercials there. So anyway, that was that. All right, now we can go to the real pay-per-view.
Your TV looks great, I have to say.
Isn't that nice?
That's a very excellent TV.
It was cheap. I got it at Best Buy. You know how cheap TVs are nowadays?
A lot less than it used to be.
That's right.
A lot more cheap. But.
All right.
So Big E versus Swagger. Zeb blamed Big E for the polar vortex. That made me laugh. So we've said many times that the most amazing thing about Big E is how he can move at his size. I don't know the official numbers, but I know he is very, very heavy, but also very short. Meanwhile, Jack Swagger is very tall. Big E leapfrogged him.
Oh, yeah.
High.
He's a high jumper.
It's amazing. Yes, like Jim Brunzell. He's an amazing athlete. So they had a good pay-per-view opener.
Greg's laughing. It's the only time you'll ever hear that comparison.
Big E and Jim Brunzell, they have one thing in common. They can jump.
Yeah.
He also hit Swagger with a belly-to-belly suplex, so he has now become a more athletic version of Taz. Swagger ended up bleeding from the mouth again, the latest victim of Big E's body count.
5 in a row.
5 in a row, Craig says?
Yeah, I think so.
I like how I told the people you said that right after they heard you say it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, anyway, aside from one mid-ring collision that JBL accurately described as butt ugly, perfectly fine pay-per-view opener, and Big E finally powered out of the ankle lock, hit an enziguri, and then finished him off with a big inning for the win.
This was a good match. When they came out, the fans I don't think really wanted to see Swagger and Big E, but by the end they were into this match. It was a they're getting more and more of these crowds, but the crowds just decide, hey, you know what? Tonight we're gonna like Jack Swagger, and so they got it at Jack Swagger. And every time Jack Swagger, like the longer it went, the more into Jack Swagger they were. And I don't even know why. I understand turning on some guys, but why would you turn on poor Biggie Langston? He's great.
If you like to see two men clubber each other, this was the match for you. There was a great spot where Swagger had gone outside to the ring apron, and Big E gave him a spear through the ropes and to the floor, and looked really ugly. And the fans chanted a thing I can't say in front of my 8-year-old.
Holy shit.
Thank you.
Craig's son is downstairs.
Yes, he might hear me.
Hopefully not listening.
I'll go tell him what you said. Hang on.
Okay.
By the way, Vinny, you're commenting on my television. See how good that looks right there?
I don't know what you're watching. It's a very non-Brian Alvarez program. There's like Lamborghinis.
Ferraris and Lamborghinis.
Well, let me explain to everybody. So I got the Apple TV, and I was looking around for something that was streaming live. And this is Bloomberg Television.
I see.
So that's streaming live at HD right now. So that is conceivably what WWE Network should look like. Although I believe WWE Network is only streaming in 720p. And I think that looks like maybe 1080 to me, but we'll see.
I think it's really, really good.
It does look really good. It's amazing. It's amazing what you can do with technology here today. Yeah. Barrett came out with his damn podium.
It worked once.
It did work once.
Barrett got a brand new podium, everyone.
Yeah. No longer cheap.
No.
Well, actually, apparently it is. It broke.
You're right.
They took the
It
scissor
was
lift.
still a scissor lift.
They took the scissor lift and put a nice big platform on it made out of probably fake steel.
Plywood. Yeah.
It looked very cool. The logo that went up, it was basically just a big curtain with the Raw or the BNB. And it's now officially too much money.
They've brought you over to Brian's side.
Yes, I'm there.
Somebody said that Barrett should preside over the next earnings call.
Oh.
Because there's going to be some bad news.
Well, his bad news here was that the United States had won fewer medals in the Olympics than Russia, and so they would have to wait 4 more years to try and beat them. Mm-hmm. They formally announced Hulk Hogan appearing at WrestleMania. Daniel Bryan did a quick backstage promo saying, yes, his shoulder was hurt, but he was going to win the chamber match anyway. New Age Outlaws versus the Usos.
This, before we even get into the match, they're coming down to the ring, and for some reason, we got a very powerful plug for Hulu.
Yeah.
And they're plugging that Hulu is the only place where you can get next day airings of Raw and SmackDown. And I was like, oh, really, fool? I could have sworn that the WWE Network was going to have these replays of SmackDown and Raw. And granted, you're not going to get the full 3 hours of Raw on the network. You'll get the same 90-minute version because there's a deal with USA Network not to re-air the entire 3 hours. And by the way, I don't know if I mentioned this, but I watched the hour-and-a-half version when I was in Hawaii. Far superior to the 3-hour version. They cut out all the crap.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I couldn't understand this plug here. I don't know if maybe like Hulu is upset that their stuff is not it's not exclusive anymore, and maybe that is still exclusive, and we're actually not going to get Raw and SmackDown replays the next day on the network. Or maybe they promised Hulu a gigantic plug. I don't know what the deal was, but they were making it very clear that the only place, and I guess technically at this exact moment it's true, the only place to get these shows the next day is Hulu. So I guess we'll see what happens tomorrow.
So every time the Outlaws appear, they appear to do a heel-face turn. I'm pretty sure they were heels on SmackDown. They came out doing a babyface promo. Road Dogg did his usual pre-match spiel so all the fans would cheer. He also claimed that at one point they had main evented WrestleMania. Perhaps I missed one.
Well, you can find out tomorrow.
I guess so. I'll just watch all 20 whatever it is. I guess 29. Yes. I'll watch 29 of them, and when the Outlaws are in the main event, I'll stop. They had a slightly better than average tag match. Not as good as what you want to see in a pay-per-view, but it was fine. Heat on the Usos when they hit an upside-down hip toss into the corner. So the Uso hit the turnbuckle very violently and then crashed down onto his head. Bad times. The Heat was uneventful. The announcers were talking about old tag teams from Minnesota. Fans were chanting for CM Punk. And finally there was a hot tag and a dive, and all four guys got involved in the finish. And then an Uso super kicked Road Dogg off the apron, and Billy schoolboyed him and pinned him to win.
So, according to Gregory here, check the new network frequently asked questions. No Raw and SmackDown replays. Luckily, they're free on Hulu. I think they're free on Hulu. Or is it Hulu Plus?
No, it's free.
Is it
Hulu
free?
Plus.
Okay, because I got Hulu Plus. So
that is amazing to put that up there.
Tonight?
13 hours before the network launches.
Yeah. Good time to change that.
Oh, it's 9 East Coast, so it's 10 hours.
Mm-hmm.
WWE Network app, according to Ismail Kid here, is streaming in 1080p. At least it's advertised streaming in 1080p on the PlayStation. They claim, they flat out said 720 at the announcement in Vegas, so maybe that's been changed as well.
Probably just to cover their butts, because I'm sure not everybody's going to get this.
Well, that's true, but there should still be a buffer.
Sure.
I mean, you should say 1080p, and if your internet sucks, you may get
right
180p.
That's bad internet.
That's some dial-up.
Yeah.
That is no HD. Bad News Barrett reappeared. His podium would not rise. At the time, I didn't think anything of it. He just made a joke about how he had lowered himself to the people's level. His bad news here was that Daniel Bryan would lose and all the fans would turn on him.
He was right.
Well, the first part. Titus O'Neil versus Darren Young. It was not very good. There was a long abdominal stretch, and the announcers got bored and started making jokes about how long it had been since JBL picked up a tab.
They were trying. I got to give them that.
They did their best. Darren hit a neck breaker on the apron, which looked like it sucked for both dudes. Finally, Titus hit an enormous sit-out spinebuster for the win. The lowdown, as D'Lo Brown called it.
Sky high.
It was lowdown. That was a frog splash, wasn't it?
Sure.
It was the Clash of the Titus.
That's what they call it here, yeah. So, anyway, it was a bad match. Dave mentioned they had a better match in the house show. I am sure that's true. Craig, anything to say about Darren Young's haircut?
He looked like Kid and or Play. Yeah, his haircut is ridiculous.
He had a shaved sides afro.
Yeah, he was going for the Chuck Liddell. He missed.
It's like he had... I hadn't thought of it that way.
Yes. Nice try. Try again.
Brian, anything to add about this match here?
Nope.
Okay.
Yeah, it sucked.
Bad News Barrett was back. Yes, 3 appearances in like an hour. As Bad News Barrett came out, JBL noted this was appropriate following the O'Neal-Young match.
Now, isn't that lift, is it a hydraulic lift?
Yes, it is.
So is it possible they ran out of air?
No, but
Okay.
you could have blown a seal. I just figured.
Aha! Blew a seal.
Yes, he blew.
Yeah.
There's a joke in there somewhere.
Too much money spent on this network.
I would imagine it had scissor lift erectile dysfunction. Anyway, yeah, it's broke. Where's your drop board?
Can we move on, Vinny? Actually,
No, I think dig yourself out of this. Go ahead.
No. No, what is it?
And Brian's
feverishly looking. Thank you.
actually hit the wrong button.
Thank you.
still works.
There we go. This is the sound to make when the lid is dropped.
All right, we can go on now.
Thanks, Tom. So, Barrett came out. His podium still was not rising.
He blew you up.
Tom Likas joke.
I see.
Because if there's one thing that's a current joke, it's Tom Likas.
I was going to say.
So,
Is he still doing radio?
I think so,
Actually,
yes.
I think he's got an online-only site last time I checked.
I know, our buddy Sean works in the radio business, and when whatever station it is in L.A. went under, he had something like a 3 or 4 year guaranteed deal. So he just sat at home collecting giant paychecks.
All I know is his online site wasn't making money, and I was like,
He is probably drying his tears with $100 bills as we speak.
Yeah. So if you're wondering why Bad News Barrett was on the show like 8 times, here he mentioned that Hulk Hogan would be returning at WrestleMania, but the bad news was Hogan would be overshadowed by Barrett himself. So at this point...
So Barrett's the one who's going to run into Hogan's fist at WrestleMania.
Yes, that's what I'm thinking.
That's fine.
Great spot for him. You should be happy. They went up to the experts panel of Mark Henry, Rey Mysterio, and The Miz. Henry said he had mentored the primetime players. He was proud to see them wrestling on pay-per-view and proud to see Titus get a big win, but he was not happy about the way O'Neal was behaving. This is the man who, a year ago, faked a retirement and attacked John Cena. Best match so far I've seen this year. Shield versus the Wyatts.
This was awesome.
The Shield came out, and then the Wyatts came out, and they're staring at each other, and the fans are chanting, "This is awesome." And then there was dueling chants, "Let's go Shield, let's go Wyatts." And they just stared at each other. And they got in the ring, continued to stare at each other. And Bray started screaming at Dean that he was the weak link, trying to get the Shield to fight amongst themselves. For a long time, it just became a game of, we'll get the heat on this one guy, where all three of them beat him up. And then when he tags out, whoever happens to be in the ring from that team is now the effective face in peril. They just took turns doing this formula over and over again. Finally, Rollins made a giant fiery comeback. Harper tried to hit him with a German superplex, but he landed on his feet, hit 3 or 4 giant high-flying moves, firing up. The crowd was going crazy for him. Then they cut him off, and they really got the heat on him. Worked him over for a long time. A lot of close-ups of Roman Reigns in the apron, simmering, waiting to get in and kick some ass, and then finally he did. Broke down into a 6-way with everyone hitting giant moves and brawling all over the place. Bray and Ambrose brawled through the crowd, and 2 or 3 minutes later, Bray returned and Ambrose did not. So now, of course, the Wyatts had the numbers advantage. They quickly attacked Seth and chokeslammed him through the Spanish announce table. So now it was 3-on-1, them against Reigns. Worked him over for a while. Bray was about to hit Sister Abigail when he powered out of it. Hit Superman punches on everybody. Was about to spear Bray to death. Harper stepped in the way to take the bullet. But then when Roman stood up, Wyatt hit him with a back elbow, and then Sister Abigail for the pin. So the big story here is that for more than a year, the Shield had never, ever found themselves outnumbered, and now the Shield had beaten them at their own game.
The Wyatts.
The Wyatts had beaten them at their own game. I blew my own line. Just an awesome match. Crowd loved it. Was totally into everybody. Everybody got over huge. A roaring success.
It's not every day that you have a match that you're really excited about and that you get everyone else excited about. And then they do the match and it delivers.
Surpasses.
Well, I expected it to be really good. But this was awesome. Fans chanting, "This is awesome," before they even got in the ring, essentially. And as noted, great little match. This was a match where I knew Batista was in trouble. I figured he was in trouble going in. But as soon as they were about halfway through this match, I thought, man, this poor guy, he's doomed now. So the finish, Roman Reigns getting pinned. I didn't know this, but apparently in the betting, the odds, the odds-on favorite to get beaten was Dean. And if you would have asked me going in, I would have said, well, you got to pin Roman Reigns. Because, number one, Roman's turning, so it doesn't matter. So you can beat him here, and then Dean Ambrose gets off, he goes nuts on him. It's your fault, blah, blah, blah. Even though Reigns successfully fought off 3 men for like 5 minutes before he finally got beaten. So Dean gets on him, blah, blah, blah. And then when you do the rematch, which they're going to do, I'm sure the Wyatts are going to win again. And probably Dean will screw something up and Roman will get pinned or something like that. And then you do the big turn. And once the dude turns, it doesn't matter if he did a job here. This was great booking. This was a great match. Fans loved every single moment of this match, And I think it makes sense also to do a rematch on Raw. I know it doesn't even matter anymore because every pay-per-view is going to be on the network, so it's not like you're killing off the pay-per-views by doing the big angle on Raw instead of pay-per-view. But I think if you're going to do the Roman Reigns turn, it's better to do it on TV than on pay-per-view because you'll have 4 million people seeing it as opposed to 170,000. So this was awesome. Fans swayed to the music.
Yep.
It was good times.
So you expect they're going to have a rematch in the next 6 weeks?
They'll have a rematch tomorrow.
Think so?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. This is a phenomenal match.
Good.
I'm
fine with that.
Yeah. That's why I was kind of disappointed. I just figured that this might be the end of it, but yeah, they do have a lot of TV in between. But yeah, this match was cool. It was so good. Early on, it wasn't much, and it just picked up, and by the end with Roman running wild, it was off the charts good. And I know it's hard to have bad 6-mans in WWE, but
impossible.
This one was far and away the best thing on this show, and as Vinny said, this year.
And the other note, and I guess this is kind of relevant if getting a rematch tomorrow, but if this is the last pay-per-view 6-man tag the Shield have, they went out on a fine note.
Yeah, that's fine.
They're going to go out on a fine note if they have a rematch.
True.
It won't be on pay-per-view.
It'd probably be some kind of stip match, I would imagine.
They could have built this up. A lot of people were saying this match should have taken place at Mania, and they had plans.
Well, yeah.
They had plans.
Renee Young interviewed Christian backstage. He was mad at her for asking about his losing streak. He said he would win the chamber match. AJ came out for a promo. There were very loud chants for CM Punk, although they faded away quickly. She was making fun of Naomi for breaking her face. And those were her exact words. When Cameron came out, she did the entire Funkadactyl's entrance by herself. And then we had a match. It was Cameron versus AJ. We have talked many times about the cartoonish features of Naomi's body. And for obvious reasons. But let it be said that Cameron in her hot pants was also good news.
This whole match was good news.
No.
Sure it was.
You're wrong, Brian.
No, this match was great.
What? By the way, the glee on your face when you saw Cameron on screen, it was something to be.
Yeah,
to
I'm
behold.
a big Cameron fan.
You can tell.
I know the glee was because, well, that, but also Cameron comes down to the ring and her and Naomi have their entrance that they always do together.
Yes.
And so it's choreographed.
Right.
They dance in unison.
Sure.
And then they skip in unison. And then they jump up on the apron in unison. And then they do the butt thing in unison.
And you wish you were there.
But Naomi's not there.
Right.
So Cameron
You wanted to
still
take her
did
spot.
the exact same entrance with the butt thing with an invisible partner.
Sure.
Just thought that was hilarious. You know?
Sure.
Cameron wasn't a dancer, everybody. So she's been taught like one dance. And so when her partner is not there, she still goes out and does the exact same dance as if her partner is there.
Okay.
I was just dying. That was awesome.
Big fan of Cameron.
I'm a big fan of Cameron.
The glee on your face. is
Yeah.
Great.
Full of joy.
So they had a crappy match.
Full of something.
What are you talking about?
Yeah, it sucked.
Listen, you geeks. I'm not going to lie and say this match was good. But I have seen so many bad women's matches that per women's match standards, especially involving Cameron, this match was fine.
This was one of Cameron's better matches.
This match was fine.
So they go outside, and I think Tamina was trying to kick Cameron, but she kicked AJ
Yeah, that was a spot.
really hard.
That was the spot.
It looked like she did it on purpose. It doesn't look like it was a.
So she
fake-
tried to kick Cameron as hard as she could,
No,
but
it-
Cameron luckily fell out of the way.
it didn't
and
look
AJ
like-
legit took the shot.
It didn't look like. It looked like she was supposed to hit AJ, but it didn't look like she tried to hit Cameron.
By
if
the
you know
way,
what I mean.
I got to digress for a second. For all of you idiots on the board who are in this big argument about legit badass, the
God.
comment legit badass on Impact. If I hear one more you numbskulls going on and on about the badass part, I'm going to shut the board down. It's not badass that we're fixated on here. It's legit.
Like Ming or Steve Williams.
He's a legit badass.
Yeah.
They're all supposed to fucking be legit.
Sure.
And then someone is like, well, Brian, AJ in storyline is a legit crazy person. No, you know what? When she goes out there, they don't call her a legit crazy person. They call her a crazy person. They don't call someone a legit mailman. They call him a mailman. If your character is a mailman, they just say what you are. They don't classify anyone as a legit something, as if to indicate that all the other people are illegitimate.
Right. They wouldn't call Randy Orton a legit sports entertainer.
They wouldn't say, like, maybe they'd say, I don't know what they'd say. Stupid argument. Stop saying something is legit in pro wrestling. It's all supposed to be legit. And this match was legit great.
So
You're
after
legit wrong.
Cameron may or may not have
You're a
accidentally
legit
kicked
idiot.
AJ in the face, they rolled AJ in. Cameron tried to pin her. Tamina put AJ's foot on the ropes. Then she yanked Cameron out of the ring and attacked her for the DQ. I thought at the time that she had actually, pardon me, Brian, legit injured AJ. And
that's fine when you're talking, when you're reporting on wrestling, to say she may have been legit killed.
Yes. So
but they're not going to say on commentary, she legit hit her.
Yes. All the other hitting has been fake. Right. So, I thought AJ was injured, and so they called an audible for this DQ thing. But AJ got up. She was holding her mouth, but she was not bleeding, and all her teeth were in.
I was legit bored.
Can verify that. Bad news, Barrett returned. He blamed the idiots in Minnesota, his words, everyone, not mine, for breaking his podium so it no longer went up and down. He plugged the network, but said everyone was going to be so overwhelmed, adults would lose their jobs, kids would stop going to school. I was trying to figure out how any of this was bad news. Nobody would have to take the time to take the garbage out anymore. Their houses would be infested by rats, then they would be condemned, and everyone would be homeless.
He did a hell of a job with this.
And JBL, in his best line of all time, I will not accept an argument on this, simply asked, what's wrong with rats moving in?
That's a good one.
That was a great one. We had a commercial for the toys with Santino and Emma and the Matadors and Torito, and finally Khali declared. Craig, would you like to declare this? Your Khali impersonation is much better than mine.
Huh? I don't even know what he said.
That was pretty good right there.
He said, okay, time to play now.
Yeah.
Craig did it much better live.
I forgotten what he had said because this was dumb.
Well, speaking of dumb things, let's talk about Batista.
Dumb?
Well, he's not dumb. But this failed.
Epic.
Batista versus Alberto Del Rio.
What did anyone expect?
Not this.
Did you watch the lead up to this match?
Yeah.
I'm not even talking about the fan
true.
reaction. And I guess it's newsworthy and notable that the fans absolutely hated Batista. They loved Del Rio at first, and then it became clear they loved everyone who was not Dave. Dave was the most hated person in Minnesota tonight. They booed him. They cheered for Del Rio. They cheered for Daniel Bryan. They cheered for CM Punk, Chris Jericho, RVD, Brock Lesnar.
Some guy named Boring.
Some guy named Batista.
That's right.
This was chanted.
Batista ended up the #1 trending term on Twitter for a while tonight.
Batista. Now, this is all bad news anyway. Here's what I think is the worst news. Dave Batista, in his first high-profile singles match since returning, looked goddamn horrible. He looked old. He looked broken. He looked blown up.
Harry.
He was hairy. He had this grandfather in his 40s had shoes with pink highlights and blue soles. He couldn't do anything. This is appalling. Dave Batista at Elimination Chamber looked older than Ric Flair ever has. So Del Rio did what he could with the guy. I don't know if he actually got hurt or not. I kind of hope so, because that would at least be an excuse. But Del Rio came out. He had a tracksuit on, one crutch, a neck brace over his scarf. He claimed he was too injured by Dave's attack on Raw to compete. He started whacking Dave with a crutch and tore off his tracksuit, and he had his gear underneath. So, like I say, I'm hoping that somewhere in here he actually, and this may sound terrible to say, I hope he actually hurt Dave with a crutch, because then Dave has an excuse for his performance. But my God, Dave looked bad.
Wow. What a burial of poor Big Dave.
I do feel bad for Big Dave.
He's 45 years old.
Uh-huh.
He's had a couple of house show matches since coming back. The fans turned on him with a vengeance.
Can't even say turned. That would mean they give him a chance.
Yeah.
He was public enemy #1 before he ever set foot in this down the aisle. So there was a point where Dave tried a powerbomb and Del Rio escaped, and I thought, my God, he should have just ended it right there for Dave's safety and sake. I felt bad for Dave. He was going to get hurt worse. And finally, he hit another powerbomb for the win. And the thing ended with him being booed out of the building, looking broken, old, blown up, and just hated. And I felt so bad for him. This sucked.
Well, I still can't get over, before the match started, they showed the video recap of this feud. And it was just Batista beating up Alberto Del Rio 65 different ways. And I remember before, like long before this match took place, every time I recapped a show that involved Big Dave Batista, I asked the same question. who in the world could possibly want to see this match? So that's how they set this poor guy up. So out he comes, and he's hated. And so, of course, they love Del Rio because they hate Big Dave. But he's 45. He's had a few matches. I don't know what everybody was expecting. It was a bad match, don't get me wrong. But, I don't know. Is it really that bad, Vinny?
I thought Dave looked awful.
It was pretty
I thought
bad.
Dave looked in no condition to perform.
Well, I wouldn't go that far. But
I don't mean that as a code.
I
mean physical condition.
I do think that based on the main event chamber finish, when Kane, of all people, cost Daniel Bryan the match and not Hunter, that they may in fact have decided that it's going to be Big Dave, Randy Orton, and Daniel Bryan in a three-way at Mania, which will be a vast improvement.
It was all downhill after he won the Rumble, because everybody, I don't know who, but everybody in that building thought Daniel Bryan was going to be number 30. Dave ended up winning the thing. He isn't Daniel Bryan. Newsflash. So, yeah, he's hated automatically. And then he gets out there and he kind of S's the bed in the ring. And he wore shooter shoes with...
He S's the bed, everybody.
Yes. I
Craig is a man of the Lord.
Craig's
I don't
Hispanic
curse.
impersonation.
I don't curse. And then he... and then he shows up with pink and teal trimmed shooter boots.
Yeah, they were sweet.
Douchebag.
Why are you guys making fun of Batista's ring gear? Have you seen his street clothes? He's understated in the ring.
Okay.
That's actually a good point.
That's fair. And I said, apparently he's lost his razor. And Brian said, oh, he's turning heel.
Yeah, he's hairy.
Oh, so
Hairy
Hello,
men are
where have
evil,
you been
Brian.
for the last 2 decades?
really?
Yeah. Hairy men are heels.
Is that right?
Smooth men are baby faces.
Randy Orton.
Yeah. When's the last time you saw Randy Orton without facial hair? You dumbass.
He had
Oh, yeah,
chest,
back when he was a baby face.
he had chest hair.
That's what I thought.
Chest hair.
I'm not talking about chest hair.
Oh, my God.
By the
They're
way,
a heel with me when they have chest hair and grease on.
That's right. Nick Allen.
if you thought I was lame for making a Tom Likas joke in 2014, Michael Cole made a NAFTA joke.
That's right.
The North American Free Trade Agreement.
He had to apologize for something tonight. What was it that he said Naomi had surgery?
He said Naomi needed surgery and later corrected himself on Twitter saying she did not need surgery.
I'm wondering if she's coming back tomorrow. Because, I don't think she's coming back tomorrow. I just remember when the thing with Naomi first happened, like the first report I got was, she's all right. And then the second report I got was, she's all right. And then the next day they announced she nearly lost her eye and has a cracked orbital bone. She'll be out till after WrestleMania. And I was like, really? I mean, maybe that's true. But, I mean, when I watched the thing tonight, I just thought, she's coming out tomorrow. She's going to come out tomorrow and win the title from AJ on Raw. But we'll see. She was supposed to win it at Mania.
So she's going to be one of those surprise,
Yeah.
I'm going to challenge anybody, and then here comes Naomi.
Yeah, that's what I thought was going to happen tonight, but it was Cameron.
Gotcha.
Which is fine.
Because you're such a fan.
Cameron would have been there whether Naomi was there or not, Craig. You know this. Where are we?
Main event.
Yeah.
So was the Elimination Chamber. For the record, Randy Orton, John Cena, Sheamus, Daniel Bryan, Cesaro, and Christian. Sheamus and Cesaro started. Had a very physical 5-minute brawl. A lot of very safe bumps on the grate, or at least as safe as it can be done. And then Cesaro put an end to all of that. He had a foot stomp up the middle rope on a Sheamus who was lying on the grate. Bad times. They brawled over into Cena's corner, and Cena from inside his pod waved at them. Very friendly man. Bryan was next in, made an amazing comeback, kicked the hell out of both guys. They brawled out into the grate, and Bryan got whipped shoulder first through the plastic of his own empty pod. I figured that was going to eliminate him for the next 10 minutes of the match, and then he was back before Christian even got in. So Christian came in, started working over Bryan's arm and shoulder. I think somewhere in here, Cesaro became the first guy in the match to actually attempt a pin. He picked up the loose plastic from Bryan's pod, gave it to Sheamus, and then hit an uppercut into the plastic. Sounds ludicrous, looked cool. They did a bunch of stuff. Cena was the next guy in. really nothing much happened until finally Orton got in, and then things got really good for a while.
This was a very average match until all the guys were in. Then it became a very great match.
Yeah, there was really no drama, no tension, no big teases, and not that many big moves in the first, I guess it would be 20 minutes of the match.
It tells you something when John Cena's in a pod and he's getting the Let's Go Cena, Cena sucks dueling chant.
Because there's nothing else going on in the ring worth paying much attention to. So Orton got in, and the match kicked up several notches.
Think about that.
Yeah. Even though as soon as his pod came in, everyone started chanting boring at him. That was funny. So he beat up everyone for a little bit, but then he missed a punt on Bryan. He turned around and found all 5 men staring him down. He then went back into his pod to hide and slammed the door shut, which worked for a while, but then Sheamus knocked the glass down with a bro kick.
At which point, everyone chanted, "Pussy!"
The fans were chanting "pussy" while Orton was hiding in his pod.
Yeah.
And there was an awesome spot where Cesaro grabbed Christian for the giant swing. But then Cena hits Cesaro with a body press. So Cena knocks Cesaro backwards, and this in turn launches Christian in a slingshot into the corner. That was great. Oh, God, my notes for this are long. They did a bunch of stuff. Sheamus got eliminated. Christian eliminated Sheamus with a frog splash off the pod. Bryan eliminated Christian with a knee strike almost immediately after that.
Vince is doing a hell of a job expressing the excitement of this particular battle here.
Yep. Cesaro was eliminated, although I've completely forgotten how. Oh, Cena
let me take over these notes here.
Go for it.
So Sheamus kicked the pod and killed Randy Orton. Did we get to that?
Yes.
Yeah. All right. So Cena went for an FU, and Cesaro tossed him outside, and then proceeded to giant swing Randy Orton. I believe he swung him 20 times, but somehow the fans counted, I think, to 29.
The fans were counting one revolution for about every 3/4 of a turn.
Sure.
1/2 to 3/4, somewhere in there.
And then they all of a sudden, at about number 21, had a complete inability to all count at the same time.
And you found how high wrestling fans can count.
21 is the answer for all of you wondering. So everybody hit a big move. Christian went up top, pinned Sheamus with the big splash off the pod. Trainers came out to tend to Sheamus. Bryan killed Christian with the knee. Trainers came out to check on Christian. That's when I knew something's coming. I knew that actually long before because it was obvious. It's obvious someone was coming in to get Cena. So we had 4 guys left: Orton, Bryan, Cesaro, and Cena. So Cesaro did make it to the final 4 out of the original 6. That's good, right? He ran wild. Cena Hurricane Ron'd him and then gave him an FU onto the medal, put him in the STFU, and submitted him. So Cena then puts the STFU on Orton, and in a great pay-per-view moment, Bray's music hits, the lights go out, and Michael Cole says, and I quote, "Who?" Because he was baffled at who might be coming out when the lights went out and the Wyatt music played. So the answer to this question is the Wyatts came out. They destroyed John Cena. Bray gave him the Sister Abigail. The fans chanted, "Thank you, Wyatts." Orton pinned Cena. Kane then came down because we needed 4 men to interfere in the Elimination Chamber this year. He sent the Wyatts to the back. Bryan hit him with the knee off the top of the cage. People are chanting for Daniel Bryan. He gave Orton a back superplex off the top, hit the flying knee. Kane pulled the ref out of the ring. So Bryan kicks Kane, gets distracted. Orton hits the RKO. Bryan kicks out. Place is going nuts with yes chants. Bryan hits a small package. Near fall. Hits a kick. Near fall. Kane then attacks him again. And Orton hits the RKO for the pinfall. And as noted, they cut to the crowd. There's all of these irate fans, bored fans, sad fans, tired fans, hungry fans. I was amazed at how many fans they found that weren't in a good mood.
The best description of these fans is melancholy.
They were melancholy.
They were just like, what are you going to do?
They were down.
Yeah.
They were bummed. Bummed may be too strong.
Are there a lot of fans in this country that thought for sure that Daniel Bryan was winning tonight? Maybe that's the problem.
Well, clearly, there are a lot of them in Minnesota.
They think I don't know. I mean, is it not clear to everybody in the world that Daniel Bryan is winning the title like sometime in the next 3 months?
You're thinking like
I'm watching the show.
Well, no.
Like they're telling the story. And it's patently obvious.
You know that at some point Daniel Bryan's going to.
I don't know that, but when I watch the television, that's the conclusion I come to.
Sure.
So I think that there's a lot less vitriol than there was after the Royal Rumble. I will say that.
I guess they're used to being punished. You know, fans know that this wasn't going to be the night that he was going to win because
apparently all those fans in the building thought so, especially the guy that threw his popcorn over the
one guy.
Well, and all the melancholy fans.
All right.
What are you going to watch?
What am I going to watch
on the network?
What am I going to watch on the network?
Yeah. I know you're going to be up all night. What are you going to watch?
Oh, yeah. 6 a.m. I'm going to be at my computer. Actually, I'm going to be at work. So I will duck into
So you'll be ordering it at 6 a.m.
I'll duck into the head, and I'll order up the network, and I'll watch Nitro.
Yeah.
Sure.
That's what you're going to watch, Nitro?
Really? That's the one program you're going to watch is Nitro?
Probably not.
Okay.
Vinny, wait till you come up here, and that big-ass TV right there is showing Thunder. We're going to need to be doing some Thunder versus Impact comparisons back and forth.
Hey, I laughed at Thunder. I get mad at Impact.
Well, maybe you would have got mad at Thunder back then, too.
I didn't.
Well, we'll see how you...
You should have.
You're the only one.
Yeah, you really should have been angry.
How could you be mad at Don Harris saying that his head might fall off? And it was sad. Can't be mad at that.
This fella Plethora here on Twitter is just very upset still. The problem, he says, is Orton beating Bryan again.
Well, yeah, and this is the same thing I said when...
Earth to everybody! Yeah. Daniel Bryan is going to pin Randy Orton for the championship in the end. Relax!
Yes. Right, but Brian?
Yes?
The point is, we have seen Orton cheat to beat Daniel Bryan about 4,700 times.
Yes.
It's not new. It's a rerun.
I realize
sucks.
that.
Why was it okay when Ric Flair, back in the day, would have the Horseman run into every one of his matches, and this one's different?
Because now there's Twitter.
I see.
You would have heard the same thing on the 1980s version of Twitter, which unfortunately or luckily for NWA was postal mail.
I had friends back in the day that just absolutely hated Ric Flair because the Horseman ran in it every time.
Every time.
And they that was the reaction they were looking for, and they got it. But Ric Flair was awesome.
This person thinks it's going to be Brian Cane at Mania. They would not possibly do something so stupid.
No.
It's going to be Brian Cane on Raw, I'm sure. It'd probably be the storyline is if Brian can somehow beat Kane or something like that, he ends up in a three-way or something.
What if
Vince comes back and puts him in the three-way?
What if they do Hunter versus Brian at Mania, and if he beats Hunter, he gets it?
Well, that's what I thought they were going to do, but Hunter made no appearance here. It's all about Kane.
No, I mean at Mania. What if Brian works twice?
So Hunter's going to work like in the opener? Let's think about this
Not
for a
the
second.
opener, but maybe
it's a 4-hour show. They got time to put him in there somewhere.
Maybe third?
Maybe even right before the main event.
The idea that Hunter is going to work any time before the semi-main or the main.
They could do that.
I find impossible to believe.
They do Hunter versus Bryan and then immediately go to the main event.
Go to the three-way.
Yeah.
They could totally do that.
I don't think you're going to see it. We'll see.
Might not, but they could.
We'll see. I don't anticipate that happening, but you never know. Never know. Well, anything else? Randy liked grumpy Vinny V tonight.
I'm in a much better mood than I was after Impact.
We had pizza tonight. How was
we did have
grumpy?
pizza.
I don't know what his problem is.
I didn't take some home, by the way. I did not get my money's worth in that pizza.
Okay. We'll talk to Brian.
All right.
You didn't get your money's worth.
I got 3 slices of pizza and 3 chicken wings for $20.
Dude, there's plenty of it.
All right, I'll take more.
Wait a minute. We chipped in $20 as well.
Yeah.
It was only $45.
No, and you tipped the guy $5.
So there's $50.
And I put it all on my card. Service fee. Don't ask me.
I will let
You're
Craig.
the one that you guys gave me the money. I didn't request anything.
That's actually a point.
You're throwing money at me and then being angry at how much I got.
Take it up with this man.
Yeah.
I'm on your side here.
All right.
I'm just saying I'm going to take some home. That's all.
Yeah, I guess the stripper doesn't get back ones. So.
What?
Yeah, you're a stripper. Okay.
What?
First time I had to turn down Craig right there.
Huh.
Turn me back up. My God.
This guy doesn't believe Brian's going to beat Orton in the end. He thinks he's comparing it to the NWO storyline.
No. That would be ludicrous.
2014. NWO's been gone for a decade or more.